Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So welcome to the Django Rest Framework series. So into the previous session, we have discussed about the React-Redux implementation into our e-commerce website. So we saw how we can fetch all the products using a store, and we saw about combiners, we saw about reducers, we saw about the actions. So we saw how we can switch the specific action type and render the data. So we was getting the data, but we were stuck with one specific error. That's basically we were not able to see the product details over here. So if I refresh the data, now you can see if I refresh it here, you can see it is taking the request and it is giving us failure here. So what is the error? Request failed with the status 500 error here, because it is going to our this specific error here, because it is getting to failure. Here we are getting an action.payload. So our actions, if I just show you the reducers of it, so the actions of it, it is just catching the error and it is just displaying it over here because I have not started my backend server. So let me start my backend server. So I'm going to start the python manage.py run server. So once I start the server and if I refresh the page, so now you can see the loading occurs and we are getting this kind of data. But even though our specific Redux was giving us the correct output, but it was what happening here. So it is taking array inside an array here. So you can see it is taking an array inside an array here. So already we are parsing. The issue was, this is the issue. So already we were passing all the products into an array. So whatever the action.payload data we are getting it, again we are binding with an array here. So it was an error. So just remove this array from here, just pass the action.payload. So once I save this, so once you can see once the state got changed, now you can see, boom, you can see I was able to see the entire exact output what I was wishing for here. So this is how the entire things work. So you can see when I click on to here, something happened. If I just go back again, so you can see again it takes the request and gives us the success message. So we can call any kind of we can pass 100 requests and we can get the 100 success message or whatever it is. So just what we need to do here is, so that the stuffs like we need to just register into our store, and we need to just change based on the specific states. It will apply middleware and it gets the entire output for us, okay, by calling a specific APIs. So into this session, we are not going to much drag more. We'll complete the Redux part into this. So when I'm not like completing the Redux part. So once we implement the single product details, so you will be getting an idea. Okay, it's something like a repetitive structure. So I'm just going to close all the files from here, and I'm just going to close the backend structure, and I'm going to close the components and the screen from here, and even the components, and I'm going to open this one here. So just we are going to deal with the three folders, that is an actions, constants, and the reducers over there. So let's see how we can fetch the single product now. So now you can see when I open here, basically it is not using a Redux for getting this specific data. It is not taking a Redux call for rendering this output. Only we have implemented to fetch all the products. So in this session, what we are going to do here is we are just going to fetch the single product using a Redux over here. So when I click onto this, it has to fetch the single product, and the output will remain same, but it has to use the Redux part for fetching it over there. Okay, so let's implement that specific part now. Now coming back to the first and foremost, let's start with the always follow this specific structure whenever you are implementing a Redux for any kind of an API to fetch the data for a success, failure, and a request over here. So first and foremost, and the product constant, I'll come back to the product constant. So in the product constant, we need to just use the same. I'm just going to use the same specific file for the product because it's based on the products, right? So I'll be using this same file. So I'm just going to Control D. So I'm just going to copy it down. So what I'll do here is, based on here we are having a list, right? So basically I don't want a list now. I just want the details now. So I'm just going to maintain as a DET details. So I'm just going to keep it as the details over here. So here also I'm just going to change the name to details 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to tell product details, DETAILS and details. Now I wanted to fetch the specific product details, right? So I'm just going to use this one, and I'm just going to copy this specific data, and I'm just going to import it into our product actions. So I'll just come back to the product actions. So I'm just going to I'm just going to import it, the product request details, and I'm going to import the product details success, and I wanted to import the product details failure, right? Fail. I'm just going to use this one, and same thing, I'm just going to copy these three specific variables, and I'm going to paste it into our product reducers file. So even here I'm just going to import this one. I'm just going to import the product detail request, product detail success, product details failed over here. So these are the things we have imported over here. So these are three things you have to do first thing. So once you do this, now let's come back to our action.js file over here. So let's come back to our action.js file. So into our action.js file, so we are getting a list of the products now. So now we need to get the list of a product details basically. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to copy same thing here. I'm just going to copy the same thing exactly bottom. Let's just do the modification over here. So here I'm just going to do here list of a product details. I'm going to tell list of a product details over here. So I'm going to use this specific variable, and this will be the asynchronous call, and we'll be using the same thing. So in this case we need to just change the data here. So here we were using what? We need to use the product details request here. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm just going to paste it here. Whenever it is a type dispatch, use the product details request. And what is an API now? So what is the API for fetching the data? So if I just go to the screen, that is a product screen, what was the API we were using it here? We were using this specific API, right? So we were using this specific API. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to copy this specific API. I'm just going to copy this specific API from here, and I'll just come back over here and I'm just going to paste it over here. I'm just going to paste it over here. Okay, so this was the API, we need to hit it over here. So when we were hitting an API, here we need to get an ID here. So I'm just going to get the ID from the data. So I'm just going to pass the ID. Basically, we will be passing an ID from here. That ID, I'm just going to pass it over here. This is the one thing. And what is the next thing we need to do here? So next, product list success, right? So for the product list success, I am using what? Product details success over here. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to just paste it over here. And the payload is going to be, this is going to be in same. And if it is a case of a failure, I'm just going to pass the failure over here. So this will error is going to remain same. So I'm just going to save this much. So once I save, that's all the data task is done for the specific products action over there. Sorry for this. So once we have done, so once we have done, coming back to our components, we are done. Then let's come back to our reducers.js file over here. So what is the, in the reducers, what is the change you have to do it? Let's see, what is the change we have to do it for the specific reducers over here. So in the reducers, again, the things will remain same. I'm just going to copy same thing to the bottom. So again, I'm going to tell product list reducers. I'm going to tell product details reducers over here. So I'm just going to keep the product details reducers over there. So in this, what I need to take it over here. So here, the same thing I need to take it. I need to take this specific product. So here we have a product, right? So basically I'm going to render a single product. So I'm just going to rename with the product, only a single product. I'll be using a product here, and here also I'll be using a product details reducers, and this is a single product, right? So then I'm going to take the action over here. So again, I'm just going to take the same action. So if it is a request, please take the request, action type request. You need to just take the request and perform the request and just store it into as a product over there. Okay, just pass it as a product, just pass the specific single product to it. So if it is a failure, so if it is a success, so if it is, I'm going to take it here as a for a success. I'm going to copy this product details success. I'm just going to rename to this one. If it is a success, again loading, we are going to make it as a false. For the specific product, I'm just going to keep it as a action.payload over here. Okay. So here I am just going to keep the one thing. So here we are not going to return a list of an array. We are going to simply return a state of a product, right? So I'm just going to use three dots with the state over here. So it is the current state of the product. I'm just going to return it over here. Okay. And if it is a success, we'll just the action of a payload over there. That's it. And for this specific failure, I'm just going to copy the product detail fail, and I'm just going to paste it over here. And even if it is loading is going to become false, again the things is going to remain same over here. That is the only change we need to do it. So once I save this, now I'll just come back to my store.js here. So in the store.js, I'm just going to copy, I'm going to put a comma. So here in the store, we need to again register it. So we need to just again register this specific reducers over here. So here I'm just going to call first I'm just going to call what is the product details reducers, right? So I'm just going to call the product detail reducers things. I'm just going to import it over here. So once I import it, I'm just going to register into our store over here. So for registering, I'm just going to tell here as a this something as a product details to this one over here. So I'm just going to register it. So once I register it, so you can see the things has been registered. Wow, we can see here, once I save this, all the things is working perfectly. Now you can see the product details is also registered over here. So if I refresh the home page, now you can see over here we are rendering what? Product list request, product list success. We are getting a request, we are getting a success. But whenever we are opening a page into our store, you can see into our store, the product details has been, product has been empty right now over here. It has been registered. So whatever the things we have coded, it has been registered now. Okay. So why we are able to hit this API? Because we are calling this API whenever we are requesting in a home page, right? But we are not calling this product request details. So now we need to add that specific logic now. So whenever I click onto this product page, it has to call that specific action. It has to take the specific action as a request and return as the response success. So it is going to change the state over here. Then we are going to render the data from here. Okay, that is what we need to implement it. So for that, again, I'll just come back to our home screen. Sorry, into our product screen over here, right? So this is the product screen. So this is what we are using it here, right? So now we need to use this asynchronous function and this stuff. So I need to use it. I'm just going to remove it over here because we are not using now. And the same thing, we are not going to use. Okay, let's keep this one. And we are not going to use the use state also. Remove this. I'm going to remove the use state from here as well. And same thing, I think I have to remove it from the, okay, there was another screen, the home screen. Also, I was not using the use state. I'm just going to remove the use state. And okay, let's keep the code clean because unnecessary things which we are not using it, it's better we are not going to import it over there. And here we are not going to import the Axios. We don't want Axios as well over here. Just remove it from here. Now coming back to our product screen over here. Now let's coming back to our specific product screen. So what is the thing we need to do it over here? Same thing, I'll just come back to our home screen. Whatever we have implemented, this three specific stuff, I'm just going to copy the same thing from here and I'll just come back to our product screen and I'm just going to paste exactly this stuff over here. Okay. Now we need to pass this, we need to pass some kind of information. Now let's see what is the thing we need to go here. So first and foremost, I don't need to use the product list over here. So what is this product list? We are not going to use the product list here. We are just going to use the product reducers over here, right? Product details. So what we have used over here. So in this specific store.js, we have used as a product details, right? So I'm just going to copy this product details. I'll just come back here and I'm going to paste it. So once I paste, I'm getting a suggestions. I'm going to tell product details. Okay, where is it? It's coming from the store. So basically I need to take the product details reducers. Okay, so I'm just going to use the product details reducers from over here. So once I use the product details reducers, so this I'm just going to use it over here. So this I'm going to product details reducer is the right. So this I'm going to make use of it. So for that, what I'm going to do next? So for this, we will be passing a dispatch. And here I'm just going to use as a something like basically I'm going to use it as a product details. Okay, product details. I'm going to use as a product details over here, and it is going to use the case of the use selectors, takes the states, and it has to give the specific product details over here. So I wanted to get the product details because that is what I want, right? So into our reducers, we wanted to get these product details, whatever we have registered it. So we need to call that specific, whatever the name you have used here, basically for initialization of the state, that which you have registered into your store.js, the same name you have to use it over here. Okay, because we are iterating the values from that specific state. Okay, so once we are done, we are just going to copy this, and again I'm just going to pass the specific product details over here. So from this specific product details, what I need to iterate it? I need to iterate the specific product, right? So I'm just going to copy the specific product and error and the loading will remain same because into our action we are just passing three things, that is a loading, so not into this one actions. Yeah, we are just passing the three things, that is a action, that is a request, loading, and error message. If it is a loading, we are going to make it loading to true and false, where we are doing that. So that we are doing into this reducers, right? So you can see here we are doing it loading to true, loading to false, and loading to false. Again we are going to iterate the specific product from here. These three things we are iterating it from here. So that is going to get from our store. So once we get this one, so now we need to apply the dispatch over here. So I'm going to dispatch this specific function So in this space we need to get it over here. So what we need to dispatch it over here. So in this we need to dispatch the list of a specific product details. So that I'll be getting from the actions. So if I just come back to our actions, so this is the product details, right? List of a product details. I'm going to dispatch, I'm going to call this method and I'm going to call the API and we'll get some kind of a response, right? So for that I'll just come back over here. So I'm going to use this specific details. So it is not imported, please import it. So you can see list of product details has been imported now. So inside this I need to pass this specific ID. This is going to expect what it is going to expect in the actions. Whenever this method is getting called, it is going to expect the ID, right? So we need to pass the ID. So I'm going to just pass the ID over here. So I'm just going to pass the specific ID over here. So once I pass this specific ID, so we are going to pass the dispatch over here. So I'm going to just call the dispatch over here. So along with that, I'm just going to pass the specific what I can pass. I can just pass the I'm going to pass the params over here. Okay, let's say I'm going to pass the specific parameters over here. Just save it. So once I save, I hope the things should work perfectly, and we are not using this product list reducer, so I'm going to simply remove it. We are not going to use here. Let me save it. So once I save, you can see I'm getting an error here as use dispatch and use selector is been not imported here. So for that I'll just come back to our home screen and I'm just going to copy the same lines of code and I'm just going to add it into our product screen over here. Just save it. So once I save, so yeah, it is working fine guys. We don't have any errors. So great. Now when I click onto the camera, wow, you can see it is taking the product details request and it is getting a success message over here. And even I can able to iterate all the data. If I just go back, you can see again it is calling the fetching all the products. Now if I wanted to fetch this specific item, if I just click onto this, you can see it is taking the request. You can see it took the request and it get us the response over here. So you can see both the things I'm getting it over here. So you can see I'm getting the product details. Now whatever the data has been there, it is fetching from where? It is just fetching from our specific Redux call over here. So this is how so easy we can implement the Redux functionality over here. So I hope you have understood over this. So same thing we'll implement it, that loading part also over here. So for that I'll just copy the entire container. So where we have here, we have a container, right? So here, okay, I'm just going to copy this entire row. I'm just going to cut over here. So in this row, first I'm just going to check one condition. If there is a loading, if the loading is still false, okay, if the loading is still false, you need to just use something like, I'll just use this as a h1 tag right now. So I'm going to tell loading. Okay, if it is there, still I'm just going to pass here as a loading over here. And if it is not loading, so what you need, if there is an error, I'm just going to check if there is a error. Okay, if there is this specific error, so I'm just going to pass the error over here. So I'm just going to pass the error, so that whatever we are loading into this, so error. Okay, I'm just going to pass this error. Okay, so if this is also is not there, then I'm just going to pass the entire row over here. Just save it over here. So once I save, you can see this is going to work. If I just open the zoom camera, it is coming it over. You can see it is coming over here. Okay, so all the things are working perfectly. Can loading it. So you can see it is loading. You can see we got a loading, then we got getting the specific products over here. It is very fast guys, it works very fastly. So this is all the things is going to work over there. Okay, so now I wanted to, let's see, okay, it is still 18 minutes I have recorded. So I want to implement something called as a loader over here. I wanted to just implement something called as a loader file. So for that you can use the loader. So whichever you want, you can use it. Basically we have something like spinner animations, we have like something like we have some kind of a loaders, we can use that one and we can pass it. So let's come back to my website over here. So here I'm just going to create one specific loader over here. So let's add this specific loader over here. Okay, so for this specific loader, I'm just going to pass this specific, I'm just going to create one specific loader over here. Okay, so I'm just going to create into our specific components. I'm just going to create two things. First is a loader, loader loader.js file, and along with that I wanted to pass the message.js file. So loader and a message over here. So what is the message over here? So if I just come back to the React, I'm just going to come back to the React documentation. So where is it? I'm going to come back to the React Bootstrap documentation. So into the React Bootstrap documentation, we are going some called as a components. Inside this I wanted to see there is a something called as a spinner. You can see I have a something called as a spinner. I'll be using this spinner. Okay, it looks something amazing. So if the page is getting load, I'll be using this specific spinner over there. Okay, so I'm just going to simply copy this specific spinner, and I'll just for this specific loader is there, right? So this is basically loader. I'm going to use as a RFCE. Okay, so whenever it is returning it, so I'm just going to import this specific spinner over here. Basically I'm just going to import this specific spinner from the React Bootstrap. Okay, so I can just use something like a import that is from the React Bootstrap. I'm just going to import the specific called as a spinner over here. I'm going to import this specific spinner over there, and whenever I'm going to use the spinner, I'm just going to copy this specific spinner. Let me see if there any other spinners we have. So, okay, we have like this, and we have like this, and we have something like this. So we have a lot of spinners. I'm just going to use this in the place of a return. I'm just going to pass this specific spinner over here. Okay, just save it over there. So once I've saved, the spinner is going to be added over here. So for the specific messages, for displaying some error messages, I wanted to display something called as a here we'll be having the specific stuff that what we are going to call alerts. Okay, I'm just going to use the alert messages over here. So this is something which is going to use alert for displaying this specific variant over here. You can see basically what happens here is it is going to take the variant. If it is based on a primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, and light, it is just going to display as the alert message over here. Okay, so you can use these specific things to do it. So for that, what I will be doing it here is I'm just going to copy it, and I'm just going to just paste it into our message.js here. So here what we are doing here is we are importing an alert. So whenever I want to display a message, I'm going to simply call the message function. Okay, and I need to pass two things, the variant and the message. So variant is basically a success, primary, like basically we are just passing the colors, like we want to become blue color or a dark or a green color, red color, warning, like that. We're just going to pass it. In the place of a children, I'm just going to pass some message, whatever the message is there, I'm just going to paste it over here. So these two things we have implemented. So now let's load these specific things over there. So let's load these specific things if there we have an error over here. Okay, so let me show you into our home screen first. So into our home screen, first thing foremost, I'm just going to take the loader. I'm going to import the loader. Then I'm just going to import the message message over here. We are importing these two specific messages stuffs over here. So whenever we are having a specific loading, I'm not going to display this. Now I'm going to use a slash. I'm just going to use the loader over here. I'm just going to use the loader function. I'm going to use of the loader over here. Whenever it is loading, you need to use this one. And whenever there is an error, I don't want to display directly the error message in this way. I'm just going to make use of this specific message tag over here. I'm going to use of the message over here. In the message, I'm just going to close the message tag. I'm just going to pass the message over here. So in this case, it is expecting one more argument, right? In the message, it is expecting some data. Along with that, it is expecting the variant, which is the variant you are using it, which color you wanted to use it over there. So for that specific thing, I'm just going to use the variant. I'm going to use the variant to, I can use something variant to danger. Okay, just save it over here. That's all. Okay, so let's see whether we can able to see it now. If I just come back to the home screen, yeah, it is working. If I just refresh it, you can see I was getting a loader, right? You guys can see we are getting a loader here. So we can implement that loader at the center of the screen. That also we can do it. That we'll see how we can do. You can see we are getting a loader here, right? Yes. So same thing. I wanted to stop the server here. So let me show you that message one. If I just stop this server, now if I just refresh the page, you can see I'm getting a request failed with the status 500. I am able to get that specific message as well. So if I just restart the specific server back, so now what happens? So you can see the message will going to go. If I just refresh again, now you can see we got a loader and we were able to see the specific products over here. The same thing we are going to do it into the product screen as well. So I'm going to copy these two stuffs and I'm just going to come back to our specific product.js, not into product screen.js, and I'm just going to import these two stuffs. And again, I'm just going to come back to my home screen, what we have used. So we are going to use the message variant. I'm just going to copy this. So if there is any error, I'm just going to simply paste this message variant. So whenever we are having some kind of a loader, what we need to do, we need to just load the specific loader over here. I'm just going to copy this and I'm just going to make use of this specific loader over here. Just save it. So once I save, now you can see the specific things will be implemented. Here it is there. So even you can see here also it is there. So whenever it is a very fast, so it is not able to see. If something the product is loading very slowly, at that time the loader is going to get visible over here. So this is all about the Redux, and we have seen how to implement the loader, and we saw how we can display the messages as well, right? So almost the main base we have set it over there. So I hope you are liking it. Please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and the code I'll be uploading it to my GitHub account repository. And we are going to see in the next session, we are just going to start from our authentication part. We are just going to build our sign up login pages, and we'll see about the JWT simple authentication web tokens. We'll see about that. So take care guys, bye bye.